Things aren't always as good as you remember. Some people get misty-eyed when reminiscing about early 3D platformers, but when you actually go back and play them, you discover few have aged as well as your memories would have you believe. Even some of the best have lost their shine in light of modern advancements, let alone ones that were, even then, just considered average. In fact, it might be generous to say Tonic Trouble was ever even considered average. This game was released by Ubisoft 8 weeks before the company launched another 3D platformer called Rayman 2. And if you know your history, you know Rayman's 3D debut was a pretty big deal, a watershed release for its fledgling genre. And that meant a game like Tonic Trouble suddenly seemed even less impressive. And that was 1999. Yeah. Fast forward more than a decade, and we've obtained a copy of this ill-fated release from our good pal Chip from Anniston, Alabama. And it's interesting to play this game now that the 3D platformer has come so far, if only to appreciate that distance and to look forward to an even brighter future. As for Tonic Trouble itself, well, it's still not very good. Tonic Trouble tells the story of Ed, a clumsy guy who one day accidentally drops a can of his alien tonic. It falls out of his spaceship and plummets to Earth, where it transforms the landscape, turns vegetables into vicious predators, and allows a Viking to take over the planet. Obviously, Ed has no choice but to head to Earth and set things right. So the premise is actually solid. It's exactly the kind of silly, over-the-top setup so common of early 3D platformers, and it totally works in theory. But the problem with Tonic Trouble is that the game never does anything with it. At least nothing you're going to remember for more than 10 minutes. Now take Ed, for example. He's a limbless hero who can throw his fist forward and even disassemble himself. And if that sounds familiar, it's because the same basically applies to Rayman. And broadly speaking, Tonic Trouble simply tries to emulate Ubisoft's other physics-defying mascot. The problem is, Ed's copy loses a lot of Rayman's ink. One of the big problems with Tonic Trouble is its camera, and that's not to say any 3D platformer from this period had a great camera, but even by the standards of its era, Tonic Trouble's is problematic, especially because you don't see the camera move when you're adjusting it. You just get a quick cut to the new angle, which is very disorienting. The controls embody the stereotypically stiff feel of formative 3D platformers, only somehow worse than you remember. But even that would be alright if not for that poor camera, and even more obviously, the poor graphics. I mean, these textures were considered bad in 1999, and although the models are okay, Tonic Trouble has an inexplicably washed out look, although it's kind of a fitting way to present such bland gameplay. We have to thank Chip again for sending us this game. It's always fascinating to look back at games like this through a modern lens. The Tonic Trouble was stuck in the shadows of the 3D platformers of its own time, let alone those of today. And harsh as it may sound, in those shadows is where Ed belongs.